era begins again.
And welcome everyone to this segment. I have to say this is one of the worst freaking articles I've ever seen. It is propaganda to the core as far as law enforcement's concerned. It puts a club in the direct firing line that shouldn't be there. You just got to see this article. It's by Inforum, and it is written by April. I'm not going to even give the last name because this is in the crimes and courts section. North Dakota murder suspect was, quote, enforcer for Sons of Silence motorcycle gang, FBI says. Now, wait till you hear this, and you'll see exactly why this is nothing more than propaganda. And one of the dangerous things about propaganda is these regular citizens do not understand it's propaganda. Reason why it's really important for clubs to get their side of the story out. Now, this is coming from Fargo. Set and scene for a Warwick, North Dakota man who admitted to killing a woman 4 years ago on the Spirit Lake Nation has been delayed, but testimony presented Friday, October 18th, revealed possible motives and the defendant's link to what has been dubbed an outlaw motorcycle gang. The sentencing turned into an evidentiary hearing as witnesses gave more than 5 hours of testimony to determine certain facts that led up to the 36-year-old Amanda Stock Inc.'s death on October 12, 2015. Now, do you find it coincidental? This is 5 years ago now, or 4 years now, that at the last minute a link to, a supposed link to the Sons of Silence come out. I don't buy it at all. Billy Joe Herman, 40, has pled guilty to second-degree murder in April, and prosecutors will seek life in prison without parole. Well, you know what? That point I agree on. Anybody who kills anybody needs to go to jail for life, or the needle. Anyway, prosecutors said Herman strangled Inks, put her in a trunk of a car with the help of his then-wife, now known as Crystal Johnson, drove to the bridge, beat her with a shovel, and then dumped her tarp-wrapped body, which was tied to cinder blocks, into the Cheyenne River. Her body was found on February 4th, 2016. More than a dozen of Enk's relatives and friends sat in the courtroom wearing black shirts with red lettering that said "Justice for Amanda," or with an illustration of a capital A halo above the letter, and angel wings on either side of the A. You know what? I feel bad for the family. I really do. This, dirtbag needs to be put away. But to make a link to the club, you know what? It's coming up. Devil's Lake detective Susan Schwab said Johnson contacted her in December 2015 asking about immunity and saying Herman possibly killed someone. Johnson later would tell Schwab and other investigators Inks and Johnson entered a house in Devil's Lake where Herman was in the weeks leading up to the death. He told them to wait outside, investigators said. Investigators indicated Herman was going to meet Sons of Silence members at the house. Inks and Johnson waited for a while, left for a time, and went to a different house where Herman was, according to the FBI agent who testified. FBI agent, okay? They're claiming that they were going to meet the Sons over at the house. They waited a while, left for a time. Did they ever show up? That's not in the article, and I'm guessing they didn't show up to the house. It was just thrown out there to save somebody's butt, if you ask me. When they entered the house, Herman said Johnson was, quote, dead and Inks was dreader, investigators said in court. Testimonies from investigators, 4 years after this has happened, 4 years after this has went through the whole damn thing, and now they're in sentencing. They're going after the Sons, really? Claim Herman was an enforcer for the Sons of Silence, a motorcycle club that the U.S. Department of Justice has deemed an outlaw motorcycle gang. It appears Herman was a member of the gang, but he I'm sorry, he wasn't a member. Again, he wasn't a member, but he did dirty work for the group, an FBI agent said. This coming from an FBI agent. He wasn't a part of the club, and they're claiming he did dirty work. For one, clubs aren't going to let people outside without a patch do dirty work because you can't trust anybody. Anybody. And it is so funny that these people brought this up. What are they doing bringing it up? Shock value? Is that what's happening? Or putting another notch or a piece of propaganda out against clubs that they don't like in North Dakota? That's what it sounds like to me. Anyway, Johnson told investigators that Herman said the Sons of Silence threatened to kill their family. Really? This coming from... You know what? That's why you never tell a woman anything. She was just trying to get out of something, and now she's throwing around a motorcycle club because it's shock value. Anyway, that Inks knew too much, and the only reason Johnson was alive was because they were married and they couldn't be forced to testify against each other. You know what? This happened 4 years ago, and we're just learning now that she divorced him in 2018. Fishy? I think so. Schwab testified that Johnson appeared to be afraid of Herman. He had threatened their child if she didn't come with him when he picked her up from her mother's home in September 2015. Well, if she was scared, why not, you married to this dude until 2018? Really? And she's talking about threatening their child. You know what? That is such horse crap, man. You know, most of the clubs I know, if they're into that kind of stuff, they don't go after family. They just go after the main source. And this propaganda stuff, and this Johnson, I guarantee, was trying to save her own ass. Because why the hell are you going to be married to somebody until 2018, 3 years after everything happened, and now you're just coming out with this story about a supposed connection between this schmuck and the motorcycle club? This is the problem. Citizens don't see it. They take this stuff, right on and form their opinion without knowing the facts. Pure propaganda on this one, man. Johnson is serving 20 years in prison for her part as an accomplice to the murder. Oh, now we find out she's doing 20 years. 20 years, okay? I didn't even see this in the interview earlier, but now it all makes more sense. Now she's trying to throw the Sons under the freaking bus because she's trying to work a deal to get out of that 20-year prison sentence, maybe get good time off or some kind of time off. This is, unreal. Herman's attorney, Christopher Lancaster, tried to poke holes in the suggested motive and Johnson's credibility, which she has none. Known as she had been described as a liar by others. I knew it, man. It's, CYA. CYA, but then, somebody like this starts working in conjunction with the FBI, and you know what? They blow this up. They had no proof whatsoever this guy's connection to the SOS. None whatsoever. Herman at times shook his head, especially during the trial, about his alleged connection to the Sons of Silence. Dr. Mark Kopian, who performed the autopsy in Grand Forks, said strangulation in other industries from the shovel likely did cause the death. That's no way to die, man, right there. Determining the cause of death was difficult because of decomposition. The body had been submerged in water for almost 4 months, but he said drowning could be a possibility for a cause of death. Her mother, Denise Stevenson, said she and her daughter would contact each other multiple times a day before September 2015. That's when she came home for a funeral and said she couldn't tell her what was going on, Stevenson said. Stevenson last saw her in October of 2015 when she came home to fix her car. She warned her mother not to text or call her, saying someone might have her phone and be watching who she is contacting, Stevenson said. Okay, well, where's the connection to the club? I don't see it. The messages to Stevenson stopped after October, even after she wished her daughter a Merry Christmas. In January 2016, Stevenson went to the police to report her, but some told her only the husband could file a report or they couldn't take it because she didn't live in the area. I doubt that. The Norman County Sheriff's Office took the missing report from the family in mid-January 2016, and her vehicle was impounded. Testimony will continue at 10 a.m. Monday, and the sentencing should be held after that. Again, you know what? I hope they come out and give their side of the story, because there's no way what these people are putting out there. You got no proof. But what they do is put it out in the newspaper. That way, they can freaking get public riled up. They can get another notch in their belt where they can get more money for their, investigations and all that type of stuff. This is, to me, on face value, because I look into this stuff and I don't see anything here. Nothing that has a connection to the SOS. And I think this is really a propaganda piece. And the bad thing about it is clubs need to challenge it. That's all I can say. But anyway, this one's on Inforum.com under the crime and court section. Again, this is out of North Dakota. This involved the murder of a woman, and supposedly this dude's connected to the Sons of Silence. And yeah, read for yourself, guys. But with that, I'll see you in next segment.